and welcome to SunnySpeak. I'm your host, Lisa Valiente O'Brien, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today to the campus of Boston University, where we'll be meeting up with our guest, Micah Christian. If Micah's name sounds familiar to you, that's because he and his quartet, the Sons of Serendip, have been touring around America after earning a place as finalists on Season 9 of America's Got Talent. We'll have an opportunity today to hear all about Micah's experience on AGT and learn firsthand about the path that led he and the quartet to accomplish such an amazing feat. So happy to have you along with us today as SunnySpeak explores the serendipitous life of Micah Christian. Hi, Micah.
Hi, Lisa.
Welcome to SunnySpeak. It's great to have you with us today.
It's good to be here.
Thanks for being here with us. Micah, at the open we talked about your enormous success on America's Got Talent. But before we go there, can you take us back in time to when you were a youngster and how you first developed your love for music?
Yeah, so I started playing instruments. Well, I first started off on the drums back when I was 2 years old. I was a part of a church that incorporated a lot of drums in the worship service, and after the church services, I would go and just start tinkering around on the drums, and then eventually my parents were trying to get me into lessons, and I just was passionate about drums at first, and then when I was 8, I got into the piano, and then did that for another 4 years, and then started singing at 12.
At age 12?
Yeah, and so, I don't know, I just always loved music, loved singing in church, loved playing in church, and now it's just become, I never thought that it would be the thing that I would do, but I'm just very grateful that it has become, the main focus of my life now.
Now, I think, was it in high school that you tried out for a choir? Is that when you first started sort of focusing on your soloist career, your career as a vocalist?
It was in middle school. I started singing in 7th grade, and a teacher, the chorus teacher came up to me after the first chorus class and said, I think you might have potential as a singer. And she said she wanted to work with me. And so she gave me my first voice lessons. Her name was
I was going to ask you. Yeah, we'll give her a little shout out, right?
Yeah, Lynn Marie Dandino. And she was just a wonderful teacher and really helped to nurture my love for singing. And yeah, so that was the first time that I'd ever even thought about singing. Before that, it was really just drums or piano.
Okay.
And and I just fell in love with it more and more over time.
Where did you go to high school, Micah?
I went to Randolph High School.
Randolph, okay.
Yeah.
And then you went on to Stonehill.
Yep.
What did you study at Stonehill?
At Stonehill, I started off in business and then went to psychology and eventually landed in communication with a concentration in sociology.
Okay, and during that stint at Stonehill, you became part of a band called Hyannis Sound? Is that right? Okay, how did that all come about? Because I think a lot of our viewers may know and have heard of Hyannis Sound.
Yeah, so I was a part of an a cappella group when I was in college called the Chief Tones. And one of the members of the group was going to audition for Hyannis Sound. And I had heard about them, but I didn't really know about how good they were or anything really about them. And he said, hey, I'm auditioning, and if you want to audition, just, we can go together. And so I looked up the auditions and prepared a song, and then...
Do you remember what song it was?
Yeah, it was a song called Ready for Love. by India Ari, and I also did Wind Beneath My Wings.
Oh,
yeah.
Two great ones.
And yeah, the audition went well. I got in and had 5 amazing summers with some of the most talented musicians I've ever met.
Right, and I'm sure you're still friends with some of them as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then Sons of Serendip came about. So first of all, how did you come up with the name Sons of Serendip? And can you let us know how you met each of the quartet members?
Yeah, so I'd actually like to go, because there was a whole period of time between college and Sons of Serendip. It was about 7 years where music was not essential part of my life.
Is this when you were doing volunteering?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you if you wanted to discuss that, because that is something that you've spent years doing, and it is something I wanted to talk about with you. So share with our viewers about that.
Yeah. So after I graduated from Stonehill, I didn't really know which direction to go in. In my life, music just wasn't even a consideration. I wanted music to be a part of my life, but I didn't want it to be the main thing at that time. And so I had some pretty formative experiences of volunteering in Honduras through Stonehill, through their alternative spring break program.
And so what did you do over there when you volunteered?
I was a teacher. I taught English and phys ed, and I volunteered within a medical clinic that they had.
Okay, and how long were you there for?
For almost 1 year. It was like 9 months.
Wow, that's a long time, yeah.
Yeah. And during that period of time, I mean, that experience was life-changing for me. Yeah, I felt like it challenged me emotionally. I felt because I felt feelings I hadn't felt before.
Describe what you were feeling.
Yeah, so I remember when I first got down there, I mean, I was excited about the trip. Excited about getting involved and getting my hands, dirty. But one thing I didn't expect to feel was loneliness.
Oh.
Yeah, and at first that's what it felt because I didn't know the language. I didn't, they're speaking Spanish everywhere, and oftentimes I felt like, just silly because I couldn't communicate with folks. And
did you ever want to give up? Was there a part of you that said, like, I'm ready to just hightail it out of here?
Yeah.
But what kept you going?
I think the community of people that I was surrounded by, people were very patient with me, and they welcomed me into their homes, and also some of the other volunteers. There were like 3 other volunteers that were there as well. And so it was good to have them to rely on for some, emotional support. And so during that time, I journaled a lot. I started reading a ton and really reflecting deeply on my life and on just meaning and purpose. And yeah, so it was a really formative experience, and I made some really great friends over time. I eventually learned the language enough. It wasn't perfect, but I learned a lot, and I felt like it challenged me in some really good ways that helped to inform my decisions and the way that I saw the world afterwards.
Now, after that experience of volunteering, you went back to volunteer in India as well?
Yeah, so that was a few years later. So I got back from Honduras and then just got involved. Was working at a Boys and Girls Club for a little while, and worked as a paraprofessional in Easton, Massachusetts. And then during that year, I was trying to figure out, okay, like, what is it that I want to do next? Like, where do I feel like I'm being led? And so during that time, I reflected a ton and decided to apply to Boston University for their Master of Divinity program.
Where we are today.
Exactly.
Now, first of all, what was the job that you had? Did you say it was a
paraprofessional?
What is that? Can you define
so
that?
I worked in a special needs classroom, and it was in a middle school, in Easton Middle School, and just had an awesome time with those students. So I did that for that year as well.
And then you applied here to Boston University, the School of Divinity. And
the School of Theology.
What was the period of time that you studied here?
So I started in 2008, and I was here for 4 years. And once again, just another life-changing experience where I felt like I was challenged a lot intellectually and challenged to dig deeper, to think deeper about things, and don't just, take things, even my own beliefs, don't just believe them without thinking it through and really knowing what it is that you believe and why. Mm-hmm. And so I did a lot of deep reflection during that time, and still didn't know what I wanted to be or what direction I wanted to go in with my life. I thought I wanted to be a pastor, then at one point I wanted to be a missionary, and then at one point I wanted to do campus ministry. And because I wasn't 100% sure, after I graduated, Jocelyn and I decided to go down to Peru.
And Jocelyn is
my wife.
Is your wife, right?
Yeah.
And you met her when you were volunteering?
Yes. I met Jocelyn at Stonehill.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay.
in a chorus class. We sang together.
Okay.
Yeah, but also during that time when I was at BU is when I had that experience in India I spent a month volunteering with Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity, and just another transformative experience for me, where during that experience what I felt was most important was, or what I gained from it was I learned that my capacity to love was greater than I had imagined, and that that when someone is committed to service, to love, that there's so much more that we can do that we don't even realize that we can do. So there were some experiences that I had down there where I was like, I never thought I'd be able to do this, but it's happening, and it's really just because of the spirit of the community and what they inspire what they inspire the volunteers to do.
And what were some of the things that you did as a volunteer?
So I was volunteering with a community called Primdon, and it was Primdon, I believe, means gift from God, and it was a community for people it was for men who had some severe disabilities. They, had missing limbs or different things that they were working with. Physical, yeah. And the sisters picked them up off the street, brought them to this community, and just served them, loved them.
In the spirit of Saint Mother Teresa,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. And so when I was there, there were volunteers from all over the world, and it was wonderful. Just the energy, the spirit that people came with, people of all different faiths. They didn't care. It was just, I want to be here to serve and to really see what this community is about. And so during that time, I met a ton of people, and I felt stretched. There were a number of moments that I was like, I don't know how these sisters do it, how they devote their whole lives, their entire lives to prayer and service in this way, in this heat.
Hard work, right?
Yeah. So I felt heat that I never felt before.
You really pushed yourself, didn't you?
Yeah. I didn't push myself. It was like the experience, it was, it drew out a lot that I didn't know was inside of me.
Like digging deep, right?
Exactly, yeah. So.
Now, when you got back from that experience, from your volunteering there, is this when you started to get together with the other band members of Sons of Serendip? How did that come about? How did you meet up with them?
So I had originally met the guys when I was in grad school at BU.
Oh, okay.
And so we were doing very different things. One guy, Cordero Rodriguez, the pianist, he was in law school.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you could name everyone and tell us what their role is in the band. Okay.
Mason Morden, he's the harpist, and he was getting his master's in harp performance. Kendall Ramsour is a cellist, and he was getting his master's in cello performance. And I originally met Cordero right over at Mars Chapel, and Cordero, he told me he had an interest in music, and I was like, oh, cool, me too. We talked briefly, but we didn't really stay connected. I saw him on Facebook. We friended each other on Facebook, but we never really stayed connected. 2 years later, I randomly heard his music on Facebook, and I was like, this guy plays the way that I play, but at a higher level, and this is the kind of music that I'd want to sing to. And so I was like, I want to see if he would collaborate. So I reached out to him, and yeah, we collaborated on just one live performance. It was during a gospel concert that they were having here, and then after that, he introduced me to Kendall and to Mason. And
what are Kendall and Mason's roles?
So Kendall is the cellist, and he also was in on that collaboration too. Okay. at Marsh Chapel.
And Mason?
And Mason wasn't in on that collaboration, but okay. They were all roommates, and so when I met them originally, I was like, you guys are just living in the same house together? And they're like, yeah. I was like, guys, there's something.
You've got something special here, right?
Right. I was like, I don't know if you know, but we could do something together. This could be really something good. And we were like, oh yeah, maybe, yeah. Someday we'll do one performance together. And nobody really took it seriously, and including myself. I was like, oh yeah, we'll probably not ever do anything, but it would be cool. So after we all graduated in 2012.
Right, and then you're still kind of thinking ministry, all these different avenues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so we graduated, we went our separate ways, and we were doing very different things. Cordero was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I was teaching in Peru. Kendall started a solo career as a solo cellist and performer. And Mason was performing with orchestras and teaching middle school. And so we did that for a year, and in 2014 is when, on a whim, I called the guys.
Now we have to get into the details. What possessed you to call America's Got Talent, and how did you hear about that they were looking for acts from this area? How did it come about?
So there was a scout that had seen Hyannis Sound, and they asked Hyannis Sound to come and audition, mm-hmm. but Hyannis Sound wasn't available because they have the commitment during the summer. Mm-hmm. And so the scout was like, well, just reach out to your alumni and see if they could put together an a cappella group. Yeah. And so they opened it up, and I originally was like, oh, let's do an a cappella group, and nobody was really, really interested, and so I was like, well, I want to do something. And so I remembered that Cordero, Kendall, and Mason and I had joked about doing a performance together. So I was like, well, let's just see. So I called Cordero and I was like, hey, would you be interested in auditioning for America's Got Talent? And he's like, yeah, sure. I don't see why not. And then I was like, do you think that Kendall and Mason would be interested? And so he's like, yeah, let me ask them. And so he asked them, and he's like, yeah, they're interested. Cool. So then we.
And where did you go? Where did you go for your audition?
So there was a whole process even before the audition. So we had to sent in the tape, had no expectations. 3 weeks later, they call us back and they're like, we need more information, more videos. And so so we went through this whole process.
How long did that take, would you say?
About a month.
Okay.
Yeah, of going through song after song. Yep, back and forth. And then eventually they're like, all right, do you guys want to audition in front of the judges in New York at Madison Square Garden?
Madison Square.
Yeah. We're like,
nothing like starting out big.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
That was unreal.
Did you have expectations that you'd pass through that first round?
We had no expectations.
You were just happy to be at the party, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Do you remember what you performed? Of course you must.
Yeah, we performed Somewhere Only we performed Somewhere Only We Know, which is originally by Keen, and we just took it and did our own arrangement of it, and yeah, we had no idea just what was gonna happen, or.
And then after that, you heard that you went to the next level.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And where did you have to go to for that next level? Where was
everything was in
it
New York.
In New York,
Yep.
the whole competition.
Time. Yep.
Okay.
Everything was in New York.
Now I know a lot of people would want to know. I just want to look at the name of the judges to make sure I get them all right. Mel B, Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, Howard Stern. Did you have a favorite? And is there anything about them that you were surprised to learn when you were working with them?
Well, I knew that Howard Stern was a BU grad.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he liked you guys.
Right? He was really nice.
I know.
He was
It's
really,
good to be on his good side.
Right. He was really nice to us, and yeah, very, very nice. And after some of the performances, he would give us thumbs up, or if we would see them backstage, he'd be like, "Good job,"
Wow.
And
was it intense? Like
it was intense.
Competing? I mean, how did you get through that? Did you just kind of take it one performance at a time?
Yeah. So the competition. So we took ourselves out of a competition mindset and thought of it as we have no expectations. Let's just work hard. Let's do our part. Work hard and put out the best that we can, and just see what happens. And I think that helped take some of the pressure off of us.
Oh, yeah.
Like, especially when it came to relating to the other contestants. Like, when we're not competing and we're
doing our best.
We're doing our best, and we're encouraging other people as well. And the spirit of America's Got Talent behind the scenes was really encouraging. Like, everyone encouraged one another.
That's good. And positive.
Yeah. And some of the producers would be like, "No, we need you to start something."
Yeah, they wanted a little drama.
Right.
It's
We're
like, it's boring if everybody's going to go. We're not going to do that, right?
Right.
It's like the Big Brother house or whatever. That you didn't want to go there.
Right.
So, and then, was it a big surprise to get into the finals?
Yeah, every step of the way was a big surprise for us. We really had no expectations, and then when we got into the finals, I was like, wow, like there's a chance we could win this, and I was like, this is really crazy.
How many finalists were there at the end?
There were 6 of us.
Okay, and you got down to that
number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? And you got to, one of the perks of that great accomplishment was you got to perform at the Creative Arts Emmys. Was that in 2017 out in LA?
That was in 2016.
2016,
yeah.
Okay. What was that experience like?
That was incredible.
Yeah? Who did you meet out there?
We met so many different people. It was awesome because while we were walking the red carpet, like it was like,
was you pinching yourself? So
yeah.
Like, how did this happen?
Right. I was like, I was a teacher a couple years ago. Like, how is this happening right now? And it was awesome because we got a chance to see some of, like, we saw Heidi Klum and also some of the folks that work behind the scenes in America's Got Talent, work behind the scenes in other shows too.
Right, so you get a little reunion there. That must have been great. You know, Mike, I wanted to ask too, for those that may be struggling either with their career or in their artistry, or maybe even with a physical challenge, do you have words of wisdom? What is the takeaway maybe from your experience that you want to share with them?
Well, so when I was in Peru, so I'll tell you about that experience, because that actually is a big part of why I decided to go in the direction of music. Because before that, like I had said, like that 7-year period, I was thinking, like, music was on the margins of my life. And it was in Peru when Jocelyn and I were volunteering, where we realized, or I realized, just how important music was for my own happiness. I mean, I'd spent a lot of time, like I was volunteering, and I felt like I was trying to do good, in the world, but there was still a part of me that was like empty. Like, there was part of me that felt like something was missing, and that I wasn't doing. There were some things that I needed to do for my own happiness and joy that I had pushed out to the margins, and music was one of the main things. Okay. And part of that is because I spent so much time comparing myself to other people, and spent a lot of time trying to I spent a lot of time like with self-doubt and feeling that I wasn't good enough to make a career out of music. And so during that year, I reflected a lot. There were a couple moments where that sort of led me to that, like where I had hit a real low during that year emotionally, and I was like, what do I need to change in order to regain that joy again? And it was music. And so what I would say to someone who is particularly going into the arts, and I think it can also speak to other people as well.
Right.
Believe in what you have, like in what you have to offer the world. Do it not to be famous. Do it not to impress anyone. Don't compare yourself to other people, but do it just because you love it, and that's it. And share it with the world, and let it be. It's going to find the eyes and the ears that it's meant to find. But just let the music or the art that you're creating touch whoever it's going to touch, and not everybody's going to like it. Some people are going to hate what you do, and it's okay.
Or you may end up winning the whole thing.
Yeah, right.
Becoming a finalist in America's Got Talent.
Right.
Micah, I can't believe it. We're out of time.
Oh,
that
okay.
went by in about a minute.
Yeah, it did.
The good times always do. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh,
it was
thank you for
really
having
such
me.
an honor to talk with you. You're a wonderful example to so many, and we're very proud of you in
Thank
this
you,
area.
Lisa.
And everybody in the country is proud of you as well, I'm sure. And to you, our viewers, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you for our next episode of SunnySpeak. Until then, do yourself a favor and check out Micah's music at www.sonsofserendip.com. See you next time.